Hi everyone. Today I'm presenting about the ways of analyzing qualitative data through semiotic, structural, and post-structural perspectives. All right. Before we begin, let me present the agenda for today. Firstly, we'll be talking about the key concepts that are associated with semiotic, structural, and post-structural perspectives of analyzing qualitative data. Then we'll discuss how we can analyze the data from post-structuralist perspective. Thirdly, we'll discuss some research examples. Finally, we'll attempt to differentiate between structural and post-structural approaches to analyzing qualitative data. Okay, let's talk about some key concepts. The first is semiotics. It simply refers to the study of sign systems, for instance, traffic light system, gestures, and postures. It considers that language is also a part of semiotics because language also consists of signs, for instance, the letters C, A, and T, cat. It is a sign that refers to a pet animal that looks like a tiger. Here, the word cat is a signifier, and the animals or the mental picture of the animal being referred by this word is signified. The relationship between signifier and signified is arbitrary. There is no catness in the signifier, which is why it is used to refer to that particular animal. The process of selecting the signifier to refer to a particular signified is a matter of convention. Another concept is difference, which is the combined form of differ and defer. Jacques Derrida argues that meaning of a signifier is not fixed as conceived by structuralists, but fluid due to several reasons such as the ways readers analyze text, their social, cultural, and historical backgrounds. Therefore, the meanings of a text constantly undergo changes due to the slippery nature of language. Though post structuralists believe that language is the most widely used means of communication, it is not an absolute means. For example, Tyson 2006 gives an example of meaning being different. Let's see a sentence. Time flies like an arrow. This sentence is this sentence as Tyson presents can at least be interpreted in three different ways from a structural point of view. First, time passes quickly. Uh, Second, set the time per flies like an arrow. And thirdly, the type of fly called time fly likes an arrow. This example shows that language is slippery means of communication. Another term is defer, which is associated with the referring back to the text. While defining any concept, we constantly refer to the text and to the text. It is an infinite process, so we keep on deferring the meanings. The last concept is associated with truth and power. Structuralists believe that everywhere, including language, has a structure which determines truth and power. For instance, patriarchy is a system in a society in which father becomes dominant because the society ascribed him the power. The post-structuralists, however, believe that the power people do not necessarily behave neutrally, but as per their intentions. Now, let's discuss each steps of post-structural way of analyzing data. The first step is to take the position open-mindedly. So don't reject or accept anything, but be critical and skeptical. Consider what has been included and what has not been included in a text. The second step is to seek threads to rupture the text by finding dualities or binary oppositions, by allowing arguments, interpretations of a text, by identifying contradictions or inconsistencies, by disentangling complexities, by locating any generalizations, and by seeking out intertextual link. The third step is to identify the margins and marginalized, missing voices, and concealed representations. The fourth step is to write a report following the fundamental tenets of post-structuralism, such as making as many interpretations as possible, avoiding absolute statements, and cultivating ambiguity and ambivalence. The final steps, which is related to suggestions, is about the resisting closure or creating a fixed procedure because it is a transitional text, not the absolute text. Now let's talk about an example. Inayatullah argues that making interpretations of a text or data is a multi-layered process. The ability of making interpretations depends on individuals and their social, cultural, political, academic, and so on backgrounds. This approach has four-step procedure in which the first step is to find litany, which refers to public discourse often created by politics and media. The second is related to social cogits because the meanings or interpretations of data texts can be made based on social, political, economic, academic, cultural, religious, and so on factors. The third label is associated with worldview, which presents researchers or analysts to find the cause of an issue or a discourse. And the last label is associated uh, with myths and metaphors, which makes the visual representations of emotive and intuitive thoughts. Let me give an example to illustrate these labels, taking an example of English learners in US public schools. At the level of litany, we can find the implementations of English only as a medium of instructions. This policy certainly disempowers to those who have just started to learn English. At the level of social cogits, we can try to find out why those groups of students have not acquired English well. There can be several reasons, such as they have recently arrived to the US, they have not been taught in English medium or English language in their home countries, etc. At the level of worldview, we can take being educated in mother tongue as people's human right and imposition of the English only instruction as a way of disempowering certain group of people, and at the level of myths and metaphor the students can be conceived as not being competent or able to grasp the content information being taught to them. The tag incapable can be labeled to English language learners, which is not right. Well, now we move on to discuss differences between structural and post-structural approaches to data analysis. In the structural analysis, researchers try to make meanings and interpretations based on the relationships between signifier and signified. They do not go beyond this concept. They make interpretations within the given boundary of a society, politics, and cultures. But in the post structural analysis, researchers attempt to identify positional hierarchies and challenges, going beyond the text and making connections to further text. What actually distinguishes structural analysis from post structural analysis is the power. If researchers uh, take power as main factor that determines the truth or realities, they are being fundamentally post-structural. In conclusion, in semiotic analysis, researchers attempt to try to find the meanings and interpretations of any text or data, seeking the binary oppositions, the relation of individual in a whole structure, and making connections between signifier and signified. But in the post-structural analysis, the readers or researchers take a certain perspective and make their meanings and interpretations seen through that perspective. They usually aims at voicing the voiceless